I was 7 years old. I went walking up in the woods, and when I got back, I was told that I had disappeared for a day. All I could recall was a flash of light, and that mark was on my leg.
We all three recall the light.
And also the call of the owl.
Here we go. Welcome to the Rewatchers in the Lodge. We are back to talk about more Twin Peaks, right? We did watch Twin Peaks. That was what I watched this week.
Yeah.
What Twin Peaks has become. Well, we watched 3 episodes this week. Season 2, episodes 15, 16, 17. Episode 15 aired February 9th, 1991, written by Harley Peyton and Robert Engels, and directed by the one and only Diane Keaton. Man, we're going to talk. Episode 16 aired February 16th, 1991, written by Trisha Brock and directed by Leslie Linkeglotter. And then a big break between episode 16 and 17. Episode 17 aired March 28th, 1991, written by Barry Pullman and directed by James Foley. And here to tell us everything that happened in those episodes, Mitchell is out of town. I guess we should go around and say who's here, huh? I'm Tyler Harris.
I'm Marcus Marinos.
I'm Tyler McKinley.
I'm Riley Harris.
I'm Justin Hammer.
Great.
And together we're
doing a podcast. Oh, sorry. Did you have something grander?
I was hoping for a superhero group or something. Captain America, not Captain America, Planet-ish.
This week we're the disappointed friends.
Captain Planet-ish.
So Marcus is taking over summary duties this week. Go ahead and hit us with every sweet detail from these hours of Twin Peaks.
I just want to say before I start, these 3 episodes, which are 45 minutes each, it took me about 6 to 7 hours to watch all 3 episodes in total.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Episode 15. Spooky chess pieces surround the beginning title cards. Diane Keaton is in the building. Dead Tooth and her possibly incestuous brother are mourning as they speak to a cop about Mr. Evil James Hurley. Mr. Policeman doesn't know how to spell Jaguar, and 2 other robot policemen appear out of thin air. The bartender at Hideout Willie's eavesdrops on James and Donna as they discuss the incident. While some dumbass plays opera on the jukebox, Donna calls Ed for help while more weird-ass robot cops smoke cigars at the bar. Sheriff Truman and Cooper interrogate Bobby about the night Leo attacked Shelley. Bobby's a little dick as always. And oh yeah, our boy Albert is back and better than ever. Wyndham Earl has been sending Caroline's wedding clothing to miscellaneous police stations across the country. Albert says what we've all been thinking about Cooper's new wardrobe. Wyndham Earl makes Leo his little bitch by using his flute that he's also a little too interested in. Nadine is more upset about the airplane slam being illegal than she is about Ed and Norma getting it on. Josie is apparently still in the show, and Cooper pulls some hair off of her dry cleaning, all behind a swinging door that apparently defies all laws of physics. Thomas Eckert calls Josie, and he also has pink eye. Gross. Ben Horn is still insane, his son is still hanging around, and the South will rise again. Donna confronts Dead Tooth, but is threatened by brother incest. Wyndham Earl's victim's identity is revealed to be Powell, which was Caroline's maiden name. Cooper and Truman enlist Pete to play chess against Wyndham Earl. Here we go. Mr. Eckhart meets Catherine, and Josie doesn't know how to cut apples. James confronts Dead Tooth, and surprise, surprise, she killed her husband for the money. They have a gross conversation, and then James the dumbass gets knocked out by brother incest. Ben is finally cured through the aid of the worst play I've ever seen. Wyndham Earl puts on a terrible disguise and forces Leo to write a letter to his future queen. Mrs. Marsh shoots and kills Malcolm after Donna interferes and saves James. In his bed, Cooper finds a mask from Caroline's face and a tape recorder from Wyndham Earl. Episode 16. Cooper and Harry listen to the tape as more spooky chess pieces float across the screen. No more Diane Keaton. Pete and Andrew develop a bromance. Josie discovers Andrew is alive and kind of faints. Hank tries to blackmail Sheriff Truman, but not before Hawk can be a badass. Albert finds more evidence that Josie may have shot Coop. Audrey Horne's enthusiasm brings a salty tear to the eye as a handsome young, quote, Mr. Rockefeller speaks to her at the concierge desk. They have a past. Audrey opens the letter sent by Wyndham and Leo. An invitation to the roadhouse that night is contained within. Nadine and Elle call a spade and break up. Coop interrogates Josie as Catherine pretty obviously spies on them from the next room. Catherine plans for Mr. Eckhart and Josie to meet and gives Josie a piece in the process. The handsome man from earlier returns and enters Ben Horne's office. Using deductive reasoning, we can assume his full name appears to be John Jack Justice Wheeler Rockefeller. He, Ben, Audrey, Jerry, and Bobby discuss Ghostwood and plan Operation Save the Weasel. Jerry receives her roadhouse invite from Wyndham and discusses it all too casually with Norma when Ed pops in and pops the question. Leo carves arrows for Wyndham. Norma visits Hank in jail and dumps his ass. She'd rather be Ed's whore than Hank's wife. Damn. Pete discusses chess theory, and Albert returns with more evidence that Josie's still a bitch. Meanwhile, Andrew catches up with Josie, and James and Donna say goodbye, finally. Andrew reveals to Eckhart that he is, quote, alive. Ben invites Jack to write all over his virgin pages while the hotel chief tries to stab Jerry off screen. Audrey and Jack have a moment of connection. Donna and the gals meet at the roadhouse. Pretty bad idea if you ask me. Cooper receives a call from Catherine with the tip that Josie is at the Great Northern with Eckhart. Josie shoots Eckhart and Coop pops in with the sheriff, guns drawn. Josie suddenly drops dead, and Coop has a vision of Bob, followed by a vision of the man from the other place. Then Josie's soul enters the nightstand or something. Episode 17. Sheriff Truman mourns the death of Josie with a bottle of Jack. Norma's sister Annie arrives in Twin Peaks, fresh from a convent. General Briggs finds Shelley compelling, and the log lady finds him even more compelling. Switching to handwritten notes. Okay, this is going to be messy. Here we go. No one knows how or why Josie died, but she, for some reason, only weighs 65 pounds now. Wyndham angrily plays the flute when he discovers Coop's chess move. Dick Tremaine is back and weirder than ever, and Audrey and Jack have a nonsensical conversation that somehow ends up on the subject of a picnic. Cooper explains that Josie was a hardened criminal prostitute, but Harry doesn't want to hear it. Let's see. A woman named Jones comes into the town to bring Mr. Eckhart's body back to Hong Kong. She gives Catherine a mysterious gift. A disguised Wyndham Earl arrives at Dr. Hayward's house and leaves him a gift with Donna. Pete and Coop discuss chess strategy when Briggs and the log lady appear at the station. She has apparently had a similar experience and has a similar mark on her skin. Cowboy Jack sings a song. Let's see. We discover that the gift for Dr. Hayward was Wyndham's next chess move. Jacoby and Ed discuss divorce to confuse Nadine. The Haywards receive another mysterious visitor. Shelley talks pageantry with biker gang Wyndham Earl. Coop is kind of into Norma's sister. Harry has really come downhill in the space of a couple hours. Coop knows what to do. Mike and Nadine are apparently actually together. I don't know what's happening. Save the Weasel operation is in full swing, but luckily chaos ensues. And then fucking Jones climbs into bed with Ben. I don't know. The whole... I'm sorry.
He climbs into bed with Ben?
Was that Ben?
Yeah, the pine at the end.
Yeah. I'm that whole
that
last
was,
30
I thought
minutes.
that was
no, it's
Truman.
Ben Horn.
And that's
I'm pretty sure it's Ben Horn.
Oh.
Yeah,
well.
yeah. So
Well, then that twist is not as interesting because I thought it was Truman.
Trust me, none of the
I thought it was
twists.
Ben first. I was like, oh, was that Ben? He's like, no, that was Truman. I'm like, I'm an idiot.
I'm pretty sure it's Ben Horn. Wolf? That's
And these episodes have some Buzz girlfriend quality from Home Alone.
Oh yeah.
true.
Some woof.
True. I will say, without really thinking about it, I grouped, when we made the schedule, I just grouped these 3 episodes together because I wanted to group 3 episodes together, get us through these last ones a little faster. It turns out Mark Frost basically left set right before episode 15 started, and until around halfway through the production of the next episode. So this is what we get with a completely Frostless and Lynchless hand at the wheel, if you will, for Twin Peaks.
Was it because he's also not a Diane Keaton fan? He just couldn't even be in the same vicinity as
Yes,
her.
he heard Diane Keaton was coming and went, blah.
Yeah, that would have been my reaction too.
I will say, in Reflections, everyone has glowing reviews of Diane Keaton as a person. I'm sure she's great. Her episode is probably the worst episode of Twin Peaks.
Is it the directing though, or is it the writing?
I think all of the above. I think it feels like someone who has never watched Twin Peaks
Get him
both
out
wrote
of here.
and
Get him out of there.
So, oh man, where do you guys even want to start with these?
Man. I just tried to cover it all so we could just stop at this point.
Yeah,
This is going to be a 5
wanna
minute
talk about?
episode.
Recommendation.
We'll be doing this next week as well, probably, till we can get to that sweet, sweet finale. Please, God, let us get there.
Is the finale like? Does all of this like set like? Does it become an impossible task for him once he comes back, or does he kind of? Is it still on the same level? Like,
let me say, when David Lynch got the script for the finale, it went from one hand almost directly to a garbage can, and he made another episode of Twin Peaks. So
That's comforting.
You'll see.
okay.
But yeah, let's talk about these episodes. Let's
Can the beginning of the final? Oh, I mean, it's already happened, but I would love the beginning of the finale just to be this. James wakes up and it was all a dream. And
he's really drunk and his parents are like, you need to get it together. He has like these really loving parents, but in his dreams they're terrible. And never there. Yeah, that's if I that's what I need more of, is more James centric moments in Twin Peaks at this point. Let's talk about James.
let's get it out of the way. Let's rip that Band-Aid right off.
That shit comes to a conclusion.
Yeah, hopefully.
A pretty
Hopefully it's done.
anticlimactic conclusion.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I do appreciate moments where we get some really terrible James lines to cringe at, reminiscent of "I'm sorry, I'm not sorry," like from that first episode.
Yeah.
Like what does she even say to when he responds, "I like the way you taste too," or something.
She
like that.
says something about the way he tastes, like,
But
it
it's
was
like more
so-
in like
I
a
can't remember
monologue.
what is.
It feels
Yeah.
like, I don't know, at least slightly more elegant than
Yeah.
James. Just
There was a
coming
lot
back
of
with-
other stuff in there, but he stopped listening after he heard the way you taste.
Well,
yeah.
James like almost made the step, like the first step in like maybe redeeming himself, and then it's just like, fuck.
It's like, wait, I can have sex again? Didn't know that was on the table.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I do want to mention that bizarre scene at the bar with him and Donna,
What is
where they're like
happening?
making plans, and there's 9 million cops who are apparently all clones of each other,
Telling
because
ya.
the one trooper gets there and they're like all turn at the same time, like, "Hey, Bob."
They're all smoking cigars.
Yeah, it's so
the
weird.
blocking in that scene is really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
And the music. It's
the
like
fucking
this,
opera in the background.
It's so bizarre. It's so weird. I will say I am definitely not a fan of them continuing to use the Twin Peaks theme song at any point where they're like, we need people to feel something, or like, remember that this show was good once. That is driving me nuts. But this was an even worse choice. Yeah, so that whole thing, I don't even know what else to say about it.
It
bad.
was that dude her brother or not? I feel like that's
I don't think
never
so.
said.
I don't think it was her brother, but their relationship was never really defined. But I don't really care. That's the thing. Is like I don't really give a shit. He's dead. I don't. Whatever happened to Dead Tooth?
She's like arrested, isn't she? And they're like,
Probably.
Gonna
Yeah, I
stand
think
trial.
the last time we saw her was like her laying on top of his dead body trying to get her story straight or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And James was going to help her with the trial or something, which, why would you want his help?
Seriously, you're gonna lose. Yeah,
I was really hoping that Donna and James were both going to be shot in that final scene.
I know.
together.
Me
Like,
too.
it just like
Are
goes
you
through
kidding
one
me?
of
This
them,
is
bounces
actually
off the
gonna happen?
mantle, and goes into the other one.
one bullet. How
Yeah.
poetic.
Yeah, it's what a rough. I forget how long that goes on for. It's like been. It hasn't even been that long. It's been like maybe 5 episodes, but holy shit, it feels like an eternity.
and then they're like, hey, last time we had a picnic up in the mountains, the next day great things happened.
Yeah.
So let's go do it again.
Yeah, James just leaves again.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
whatever.
And then he's like, "Oh, I won't come back with you." And then he was like, "You should come with me, Donna." And I was like, "What do you want? Like, you don't."
Yeah.
It was rough.
Yeah. And then he's out of our lives, hopefully. We'll see.
How great would that be?
It's almost too much to hope for.
Just never comes back.
Let's talk about Donna a little bit then, and the stuff that happens with her. I guess we can kind of tie this into the Wyndham Earl stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess what happens next with her is the Wyndham Earl stuff, right? I mean, she gets the letter and goes to the roadhouse.
Okay, yeah, I want to talk about that because everyone gets a creepy ass letter.
Yeah.
They all show up, and then Audra's like, huh. She pops out of nowhere, by the way.
Yeah.
Audrey and Shelley put it together, and then she's all of a sudden there. Like, oh, looks like we got the same one. And then nothing, no concern.
Yeah.
Like, if you get that, you should be like, this is creepy as hell, but no acknowledgement of it. The show goes on for another episode and a half with no mention of it. So
let's actually go back and just talk about Wyndham Earl and kind of get into this from that direction a little bit. So this is the first set of episodes where we actually kind of see Wyndham Earl, right? Did we see him at the end of
We saw him
one
at
of
the end of
episodes a while ago?
the last episode.
yeah, when I thought he was a different actor, because then that, like we talked about last week, I was like, oh, isn't he in stuff?
Oh,
And then
yeah.
I realized I was thinking of, I can't remember who I'm thinking of, to be honest, but like is a more famous actor.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, I realized it's a guy I've never seen before or since.
Yeah, so let's talk about Wyndham Earl's presence in Twin Peaks.
Okay, well, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned a few times that this actor was just like a fucking weird ass dude on set. Can you preface this conversation with a few fun facts for us?
So number one, Wyndham Earl has a flute. Wyndham Earl was not scripted to have a flute. The actor showed up to set with a flute. It was like, wouldn't this be great if I played a thing? And they were like, listen, we've got a music guy, and he doesn't like notes. So here's the thing. You're going to have to talk to him. And this guy basically just berated Angelo Badalamenti until he wrote some shit that he could play on a flute. And so that flute thing is all the actor. Also, all of the dumb, shitty disguises this man wears are the idea of the actor.
What the hell?
He came to set, was like, wouldn't it be great if he was a master of disguise? And I think they had too many just irons in the fire and were like, listen, if you can work it out with a costume person, do whatever the fuck you want. And Twin Peaks apparently has the chillest and most enthusiastic costume coordinator to throw together that many outfits.
They want to try and
for
cover
an
up their
insane
Tajimura
actor.
incident.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, anytime you see him
Need a palate cleanser.
dressed up, and you will see him dressed up as more things, trust me, know that is that man's idea of character development.
Well, what was the script like before? Like,
Yeah,
what
did they have
Here's
anything
the
with
thing.
him?
So prior to this, really, I mean, I'm sure that they had scripted some stuff, right? But on TV, especially, and especially back in the 90s, like at this point in a show, you're writing scripts up until the day you start shooting. And even when you're shooting, you're rewriting those scripts, right? So with, these episodes in particular, Mark Frost, this is the first time that he's been completely absent from set for a long period of time, and also David Lynch is gone. Mark Frost used to be the go-to script guy where he would kind of approve stuff and get that stuff done. But he is now working on his own movie called Storyville, which I haven't seen, but he is off working on that, and so basically it's in Harley Peyton's hands to do everything. And I'm sure Harley Peyton's very capable. I think it's proven you cannot make Twin Peaks without Mark Frost and David Lynch, at least the good one. So, I think that a lot of that was just, and that was something that I feel like the actors felt around this time too. And there's a lot of Kyle MacLachlan meeting with people and being like, I'm not really sure what my character's doing in this script.
Right,
honestly,
yeah.
this doesn't feel like Cooper to me, and so they're making changes based on that. They're making changes. We talked about the stuff with Laura Flynn Boyle, and that was like bigger picture stuff about like the will they, won't they kind of stuff with Audrey and Coop. But that's obviously nixed at this point.
Which then they bring in another love interest for him. I'm like,
yeah,
what the hell?
yeah. It obviously feels like something much more personal between Laura Flynn Boyle and Sherilyn Fenn.
Yeah.
Those actresses. So, anyways, we really do have a show at this point that is just in complete disarray. There's not really a captain at the wheel. It's all these different pieces, and I mean it comes together. They made a TV show. It's just nowhere near as good as what it was, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, so that actor specifically had some very specific and weird energies that he brought to that character. And I think, did we talk about the one that played the actress that plays Lana Milford? How she was just like, I'm going to have a Southern accent. Whatever. Like, so you get a lot of that kind of stuff. And I think also in this time, episode 14, one of the last ones we watched, was directed by Yuli Edel, who had never directed an episode of Twin Peaks before. And in this episode, you also have Diane Keaton, who's never directed an episode, coming in and directing an episode. And so you have these first-time directors coming in at this, like, perfect, I feel like, inflection point of all these things shifting. And it just really misses the mark, I think, of what Twin Peaks is.
100%.
But yeah, so with that being said, let's talk about this show we forced ourselves to watch. The Wyndham Earle stuff, kind of also to preface that, so prior to this, the Dale Cooper autobiography had come out, written by Scott Frost, and they hint at all of this, of his stuff. They kind of talk about Cooper's relationship with Carolyn Earle, his wife, and how that all shook out. And it paints such a sinister picture of who this man is. And I honestly feel like in the show, to this point, they do a pretty good job. Like, I actually like a lot of the breadcrumbs that lead up to that. And I was telling Riley on the way over here, like, when Wyndham Earle isn't on screen, his presence when they put that in there feels so much more foreboding. Like, that body that they find in the sheriff's apartment is like it's a little over the top for Twin Peaks, but it still feels very, like, imposing and, like, weird and tied to something maybe bigger or supernatural or odd. But man, when he gets on screen, you're like, this guy is the guy doing Richard II tonight. Like, this guy's hitting the stage. It's bizarre. It's really weird. So yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on Wyndham Earle? I've talked for way too long about this shit, but
I feel like I was excited to see him because of all the breadcrumbs and all the creepy stuff. I was like, oh, when he's here, he's going to be this really, like, ominous, creepy guy. And then he's playing a flute and whacking people with it.
But it's a samurai flute that they used when their swords were gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, I had a creepy experience as a child where I've always had a hard time sleeping. I was trying to fall asleep, could not fall asleep. It was like 2:30 in the morning. And I just hear a flute. And I look out the window, and it's 2 a.m., and there's this dude standing by the street lamp just playing a flute. And I was like, fuck it, lock the doors, like, lock them all. Pour garlic around, because who knows what this piece of shit is. I was so scared. So, yeah, I mean, don't knock
So the flute works for you. That's what you're saying.
I'm just going to say, the moment the flute worked for me is when we first see him and Leo stumbles and this guy's playing a flute. I'm like, don't trust that guy. That guy hangs out at 2 a.m. on Palisade Drive. All right? Yeah, no. But then after that, it just gets obnoxious. But,
Yeah. Yeah, and the Leo stuff with that also, man, feels like they just didn't know what to do with that character.
Well, it feels like it could be an interesting dynamic if Leo was all the way there. Like, it's like, all right, let's bring Leo back, but Not really. You know, he's
Right.
he's not all the way back, but he's just, you know, he's a little slave. So I don't know. I don't know where that's going to go, and at this point it's just like, well,
Yeah. Yeah, so the like chess stuff is still in full swing, which whatever. I love that the other side of that story is Pete Martell being extremely good at chess.
Chess expert.
There's a shot, I think it's the beginning of the second of these episodes. It's a really weird thing. It is all the chess pieces that he's laid out to like duplicate all the stalemate games. And the camera starts panning over as if to reveal something, but then it just cuts back to that first shot, like immediately after. I'm like, what was the point of that fucking pan? Like,
is that the one? Is that the shot where Pete pops up from the bottom of the table? It's like, what are you doing down there, Pete? Like, what? Oh, it would be cool if you popped up
there
from
was
the bottom
another
of the
fish
table.
in the percolator, and that was apparently in the floor.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I honestly like Pete Martell. I feel like he's the goofy Twin Peaks I want, is just Pete Martell being a weird, sexually frustrated dude that just is looking for someone to fish with. You know what I mean? Like, so I honestly, and I like that actor. I think his performance is like so ridiculous and good. But yeah, it's funny because I really don't like a lot of the Wyndham Earl stuff, but the fact that it gives us a little more Pete Martell is kind of great. I like that stuff. Man, what else? Is there anything else around Wyndham Earl that we want to talk about kind of specifically? There are a couple of those moments that we talked about, like the mask in the bed is like a really cool image. And even him on tape, Wyndham Earl on tape is a more menacing thing than Wyndham Earl in real life, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just the medium. It might just be the way that the tape sounds instills some kind of like weird fear in me or something. But like, I even like that better. Like if we still hadn't seen Wyndham Earl up to this point and we just heard his voice and seen the setup, I think it would have been better. Like I think that makes this better.
I agree.
But
And for the sake of time and our sanity, I mean, we can just gloss over. He meets with Donna,
yep,
and then he also kind of speaks with Shelley a little bit.
yeah.
And in two bullshit scenes I don't care about.
You know what scenes? If we're gonna see Wyndham Earl, these are the scenes I want to see. Leo helping Wyndham Earl with all of his disguises and like helping him like, hey, does my beard look okay? Like, does my fake beard look okay? Like, can you help me put like this vest
I would
on?
have loved to see a budding romance between the two through those. Even if it's a little Stockholm Syndrome, Beauty and the Beast type of shit.
Because it's basically Leo finding out that he's a sub the entire time. He's been in the Dom role his whole life, but he truly wishes to be.
I just want Leo to be his like mode of transportation around Twin
Oh
Peaks. Like he just rides on Leo's back everywhere.
Just shocking him with that.
Yeah. It's like
taser.
faster.
That would be amazing. Yeah. We'll talk more about Wyndham Earl. Not a whole lot happens. I think that's the other thing about these few episodes is like at the beginning of Twin Peaks, it took a long time for them to answer the main question, like who killed Laura Palmer. But every week felt like substantial steps towards that. And substantial steps even laterally to like information that you didn't know felt interesting and like progress. There's no like semblance of that at this point with any of these storylines.
I feel like the one thing for me at least is like Major Briggs stuff and whatever that which pisses me off because there's so little of that in the past like 5 or 6 episodes. It's literally like one piece every 2 episodes that is so short. It almost feels like to me that like that's the stuff left over from David Lynch through like his outline or something, and they're like, well, we got to include this somehow so the end of this makes sense.
I agree. Like for some reason that to me feels like, okay, that's the main story. Like that's what I want to see, but you only get it like once out of every like 3 episodes, and then the rest of the episodes it's Wyndham Earl lets another like chess move every episode, and it feels like it's just taking forever, and then you're just kind of getting nowhere with the story.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's so much of the supernatural stuff. So let's talk about the supernatural stuff we do get in this episode. We get a lot of scenes of Josie looking very distressed, and people trying to convince Truman that she's a bad person, and then everyone that is in her life telling her that she's a bad person and trying to push her into doing a bad thing. And we learn that she's the one that shot Cooper for somewhat vague, somewhat not reasons. Like, it feels like not a super satisfactory answer to that, but also it fits. Like, it's enough of like an answer to that question, I think. But let's just fast forward through all that. You got it if you watched it, and if not, you heard Marcus talk about it. That's probably all the time we need to devote to it. Let's talk about her death. The most remarkable the most remarkable thing probably to happen in these 2 episodes. Or 3 episodes.
Some honestly impressive 90s CGI. Considering the other CGI that was happening during the 90s, this is actually, especially on TV, that knob with her face on is pretty top tier.
Why?
I don't know. I'm not here to answer why. I'm here from a technical standpoint to tell you that was pretty good.
I just don't understand.
Here's what I have to say about that. Reading in Reflections, this is a whole chapter about this fucking doorknob. Okay,
About
there's a drawer
knob
pull, whatever.
on the
nightstand, yeah. So they're like, Leslie Linklater's like, that sounds like a David. I'm pretty sure it's a David Lynch, Mark Frost thing. And Sherilyn Fenn is like, I'm pretty sure that was a Harley Payton thing. And then Harley Payton is like, I'm pretty sure that was a David Frost thing. And I was like, what the fuck? But then like 10 years later, I'm like, that was amazing. So I think it was a Harley Payton thing that he's like trying to spin in a new direction and be like, I mean, it was dumb back then, but fucking rocks now, right, guys? It's fucking cool. Other TV shows love it. Like, I don't know. Also, the other thing is Joan Chen asked to leave the show because she was going to do a movie that she thought was going to be really good, and then it wasn't, which she seems really bummed about in her interview.
She's not really great. So,
so she
So
says,
is that why they killed her off?
wait, so they don't bring her back? I thought she was not dead, so to say.
Oh, well,
I mean,
I will say she left the show.
Okay.
She lives in the
Sorry,
drawer now.
I didn't mean to spoil that
Well,
in case
I was gonna say, like,
Oh, okay, I get it now. That's why they
yeah.
leave it open with the drawer.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
I
The
mean,
drawer
the drawer
returns
was
in season
closed.
3,
True,
but
true. It could, yes.
the nightstand
yes.
returns in season 3 confirmed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like a Beauty and the Beast situation where she was like turned into the furniture and she can like walk around and stuff.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty good. I was thinking more like a
okay.
Jumanji thing. It's going to be a cursed nightstand that like people are going to keep getting
Oh, nice.
passed around Twin Peaks through the Goodwill there.
Yeah. Here. Okay. So let's talk about this. So this is the first time we've seen Bob in a while.
Yeah.
Bob shows up. Also, the man from another place shows up.
That was the only moment in all of these episodes where I was kind of stoked. Where I was like, "Oh fuck, Bob's back!" And then this dude shows up. He's only been in the show once, and then he shows up. I just love all like the supernatural shit.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the rest of that was odd. Oh, can we kind of discuss? So, Coop gets an anonymous tip from Catherine that Josie. Well, it wasn't anonymous. He knew it was Catherine.
Right.
He's talking that Josie was at
No
the
one
Great
else
Northern.
talks like Catherine Hitchwood. This anonymous tip, Cooper.
There's an anonymous tip.
Was that Jean Reno?
I thought we
Tajimura.
killed you.
Oh, no, and Tajimura.
Oh my god! What if they? I would have just loved for them to cut to her side of the conversation, and she's just in full Tajimura makeup, so that he can't
Gotta get
recognize
in
her.
character. I can't do the voice without my makeup.
That would be amazing.
Oh my goodness. How great would it be if Tajimura was the one who took out Wyndham Merle, both in disguise?
That would be so good. Oh, I love that. Anyway, sorry. So
Okay,
let's
all right.
keep going with this.
So, then Coop he goes down the hallway to the room, and he hears like a tussle going around in there, and then the gunshot, and he bursts in, but they're both just lying on the bed. I was like, oh, was he hearing things? Like, is there something weird going on? They're just like asleep. But then dude gets up. He's been shot in the chest. They have like a little conversation. He drops dead, and then Josie's just there with the gun.
Yeah.
It's so like oddly paced, and I'm like, what are they going for here?
What the hell happened? Yeah, it's so unclear. It's so unclear. I will say this also does introduce Truman just yelling at the highest volume any human ear can stand. We get this several times in these episodes. It's my favorite whenever it happens.
He goes from normal Truman to like Oscar clip introduction Truman, like within a matter of like one frame.
Emmy play.
Like, it just goes from like totally calm to just get it. Put the gun down.
What's odd though is I feel like if I muted the television, and I wouldn't be able to tell he was yelling because his face kind of just stays the same.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about the way he's yelling is even when you mute your television, it's still audible. It's a Tibetan technique that he learned. So yeah, that whole thing happens. She ends up in the drawer pull.
Yeah.
What the?
Bob.
Cool.
Bob just saved her for a snack for later. It's like revealed that she just kind of died, and no one knows the cause. Apparently, to do with Bob.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing for me was that Bob, he was like angry about it, right? He was angry about it when normally like you're like, oh, Bob loves death, he loves chaos, he loves this kind of shit. And then the man from the other place, he was dancing.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I was under the impression Bob was more like manic.
I think he was like mocking. It felt like because he's like, "What happened to Josie?" And he's kind of like that scream laugh, weird shit.
Because
no man,
like,
he's just insane. I have no idea.
He knows
what's
what
going on
happens
with
to
him.
Josie.
Yeah.
But he's taunting Coop for
Well,
it.
and if we want to be generous, lore wise, it does feel like he would be there. Like if he does love like pain, right? He feeds on like the pains and pleasures, so it makes sense that he'd be there. I think also like we don't really know much about the man from the other place.
True.
The thing that we do know is that he uttered the phrase that would then lead Coop to the killer. But this also sheds a light of like, is he aligned with the traditional good or evil? What is he?
My thought was that Josie's soul or whatever is now in the Black Lodge.
Cool. Okay.
And that's the man from another place, which I assume he resides on that plane of existence or whatever, being like, sweet, got another one. I got more friends.
Teach him how to speak backwards.
So yeah, that's. I guess the other thing that we get is in the autopsy, she only weighed 65 pounds, which I don't know how much could she have weighed more than that when she was alive. She was a slight woman, but I think the implication there is that there is literally some like spiritual piece missing from her.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, a bitchy soul weighs a lot, you know.
I mean, I guess they should weigh that. They should weigh that dresser or that nightstand and see how much it weighs. See if
Holy
the
shit,
remaining-
this is heavy.
A simple math deduction will tell you. A normal nightstand weighs 15 pounds.
Yeah. So that's great. I think the Josie stuff I like the most is that Albert comes back.
The elevator scene is like, it's dumb because there's nothing that leads up to it, but it's like, I don't know. I like the guy who plays Albert. I like over-the-top performances when they're like stage theatrical, like him and Catherine.
Oh, are you talking about
you're talking
Andrew?
about Andrew.
Who are you talking about?
I was talking about Albert, the FBI agent.
Oh no, not
This is because Albert's
Arthur.
real...
Arthur.
Arthur. Yeah.
No, Arnold.
Arnold, right?
That's because Albert's name for some reason can't stick in my fucking head.
But yeah, Albert. I feel like Albert's stuff is good. I
Love
just like
Albert.
seeing Albert.
Yeah, he just
Great.
comes and gives Harry a big hug. I was like,
Yeah.
A salty tear was shed.
Yeah.
What if Albert and Harry date now because Harry's available?
That's the only thing. The violent tension between them was entirely sexual.
I ship it.
I mean, and Truman, I don't know. I guess, but does Truman give up on Coop? I mean, who knows? I think
yeah.
if Truman could choose, Anyways, so yeah, but let's talk about Andrew too. So
Sure,
let's
why not?
talk about the Packers.
I just fucked that up. So
no,
I'm
you're
sorry.
fine. I do think we should talk about them for sure.
I don't know. He's got like a Max von Sydow vibe to me. So I think I'm watching Max von Sydow, and then also I'm like, oh, I like this. But yeah, it's like that moment in the elevator for me feels like something that it would be on a different show, and at this point, a better show. Like, you thought I was dead, but like I'm like I found out you were alive. Like I didn't know
So many episodes
I
ago.
didn't know anything about you until like I don't know. I'm not invested in him at all. And although I do really like him and Pete's relationship, they're just like dicking around, and Catherine does not. She is not having that.
Dude, Pete paired with pretty much anyone in this show, I like. He's just a cool energy.
And Eckhart too is like another thing that's like they tried to make him a threatening force when he wasn't on camera, but then when he got on camera, I'm like he seems like a pushover a bit. And he's also what is with the pink eye? Why does he have pink eye?
Yeah, I think it's just pink eye. I think it's a simple answer.
I thought it was gonna be like something bigger, like oh my gosh, it's Nadine's missing eye. Or something. But like,
It's just got a BB in it. It's got an eye transplant from an eye with a BB in it.
but like honestly, like I'm a little disappointed at this point in the show because I was hoping and expecting so much more of the supernatural stuff, like underlying everything. Yeah. Whereas now I'm just like I feel like we're leaning too much on the soap opera side of things to try and carry us through, and that's not. I mean, I would just watch a soap opera if I wanted the zaniness of a soap opera.
It's just a soap opera, and they've even dropped the soap opera plots I liked. Like we get almost no Andy Dick and Lucy in this. We get almost no Nadine in the fun capacity. Like they're just going all in on all this other stuff.
We do get that fun Nadine scene when they're on the bed.
Yeah, no, that's a great scene. I actually do love that scene.
That was enjoyable.
The Ed and Norma stuff, I feel like, is still really fun. Like that, it feels like it stayed constant. It's still, you still want them to end up together, and it's still nice when they do. It's nice to see Norma just tell Hank to fuck off. I will say, when Hank is in prison and he's like, "Listen, if you give me my alibi, I'll give you my divorce, or I'll give you your divorce." It's like, dude, if you're in prison, I'm pretty sure we can figure out how to get divorced. Like, I'm not going to be married to a prisoner, you idiot. Like,
and at the same time, like, what a weird end, as far as I know, to that story arc.
Right.
Where it's like, Hank gets out of prison, causing all this chaos. Norma has no idea what's going on. And then it's just like, hey, let's just get a divorce. Okay.
If this is the end of it, it feels like it wrapped up a little too easily. Without the conflict I was expecting.
Right.
Same with Nadine and Ed.
Yeah.
But it was at least that was a little more entertaining.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, and I think the Nadine and Ed stuff is still, there's still like some intriguing stuff there, just because like that scene with Jacoby, where she's like, "I know what's happening, Ed. We're breaking up." It's like, and Dr. Jacoby's like, "You're not wrong." But you're doing like the big breakup, the mother of all breakups. And I do also like when they're in that meeting and she's like, "I think I just lost sight in my left eye."
She like puts her hand
Just
up
barely
to it.
notice.
Yeah, like everything is slowly coming back. And like, again, I would love to see more of that because I think that that's a fun, stupid arc that they leaned into all the way that I like. I wish there was more of it to watch up to this point.
When she just breaks down the door and walks in on Ed and Nadine and then just like plops down into bed with them and just starts going off like, "Man, the airplane slam was illegal, so I got disqualified." But she also has a
took
trophy.
second place too.
Yeah.
Disqualification.
Oh no, you know she just like beat the shit out of someone and took their trophy.
Yeah, which also, like, that's not the behavior of a teenager either. So it's like, there's a lot more going on with Nadine.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that she doesn't look in the mirror and see an eye patch. The fact that she doesn't realize one of the guys she's dating is, like,
But she
in
can
his
look in her
40s.
own shoes and see her underwear.
yeah. Like, there's more than just thinking she's a teenager. There's some serious, like, other parts of her brain that are probably dead.
Yeah.
And, yeah, just weird stuff. Like, I mean, I was not expecting her to just plop in bed. I was expecting a bigger... I don't know.
For Norma to get thrown through
Yeah.
a window.
Yeah.
And like Ed having to like put his life on the line
Yeah.
to kind of save that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just kind of all ends a little easy. And yeah, I mean, only one Hank's in jail, guys. There's at least
Yeah, what happened to the
4
rest?
others that we know of.
Hank Co. is still in business.
Well, we know Nadine killed one of the Hanks. Let's see what else.
Oh, I think Jean Renault has one locked up.
Yeah.
Still, thinking he's the district attorney. Yeah. So, whatever. It's good. Shelley is going back to work.
Yeah.
I like seeing Shelley at the Double R again and not covered in Leo food.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Ben Horn, finally, the whole Civil
The
War.
victory.
He wins the war for the South. Finally, what we were hoping for the whole time.
Bobby's just like, I thought the South lost this.
Let my dad have this one war, please.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
What an odd scene.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
That's when, like, I mean, if you didn't know it already, I feel like that's the scene where you know the show's jumped the shark and,
Yeah.
like, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because literally that whole thing happens for what?
A few episodes, like 5 or 6
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah, that's a while.
And, like, what's the point by the end? Like,
He comes out a new man. Not really.
Yeah,
But not-
yeah. Then we learn not really like, oh, this pine weasel thing is pretty convenient for you to basically fuck over
Yeah.
Catherine, who you just signed everything
Yeah.
over to.
I've been like more intrigued with Audrey because obviously I think she has ulterior motives, but I'm still like, you know, your dad like was gonna rape you, right? And you're like hanging
Yeah.
out with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so odd.
Yeah, Audrey is probably
the
Man,
biggest
if-
victim of Twin Peaks.
yeah,
Like,
if not the biggest, for sure in the top 3 of just like characters done wrong by this last season, especially. Yeah,
she's the one I had the most hopes for that has become the least impactful.
yeah. And especially, I will say, especially now with the introduction of Billy Zane to the cast.
I don't know that dude's name, his character's name. I know him as Billy Zane. If
I
I
think
reference
it is-
him, it would be as Billy Zane.
John Jack.
Yep, it's just gonna be and
Wheeler.
Justice, isn't his middle name Justice?
John Jack Justice Wheeler Rockefeller.
Ugh.
yeah. You can't understand a word he says in half of his scenes because he's mumbling.
I will say, when they cut to the picnic and it's no introduction, just him singing for a while.
Yeah.
It's like,
Katie
what
and
the
I-
hell is going
Katie
on?
and I paused it and we had a long discussion about how like this was a common thing kind of in the 50s and Audrey's kind of like a character ripped from the 50s.
For sure.
But yeah, a weird thing that was kind of almost like expected of men in courtship at that time, of like taking a woman somewhere and either reading her poetry or singing. I'm like, thank goodness that is not a thing anymore. But this guy hasn't got that memo, and neither is Audrey because she's eating that shit up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bummer. It's I don't like it. I don't like it. Anything else on that? Do we need to talk about Audrey anymore? Or I mean, is there anything else interesting? They do almost set up some interesting things with her and Jerry Horn that she is like that they're going to be making plays to see who will control the company.
Yeah.
And then Jack Jizz Wheeler judge guy shows up.
Why
and
does Jizz
does
Wheeler
something.
have any sort of like? What does he do for those episodes? Like, does he bring anything to the plot other than being a romantic interest?
Not really.
'Cause
I
at
mean,
first-
he shows up to be on the board of the Great
Yeah,
Northern.
it sounded
help
like
it out
there was
or
going to be like a
whatever.
plan that he was like, "Oh, you're here to fix the problems,"
Yeah.
but then comes up with no plan. It's like the Weasel plan wasn't his idea.
Yeah.
So it's like, why is he here? Like, really confused me.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't confuse me. It just felt I know why he's here, and
Right.
we all suck at writing.
Yeah. So yeah, not great. Real bummer. Man, anything else with that stuff? I feel like we're getting
we
through
got.
most of it.
Do we need to talk about the weasel thing?
Let's talk about the weasel thing just so we can talk about Dick Tremaine's
Glorious return.
what the yeah. Just him at his sleaziest in an event where he would be his most comfortable, I guess. If someone's like, we're going to do a fashion show for this, he's like, give me something difficult. And then does that fucking thing.
The clothing that Andy and Lucy end up wearing, that's how I picture a Pearl Jam concert.
I love how Andy and Lucy are all also the only two people he knows.
Yeah.
He's like, I need some models. Andy and Lucy.
Yeah, oh gosh.
Andy might be the worst person to do runway.
Oh, yeah.
And how would you think that would work okay?
I mean, he's going to cry at some point, right?
People treating ferrets like dangerous reptiles is interesting also. That ferret escapes off stage and everyone loses their mind.
Yeah.
The building is not on fire. There's a rodent.
That scene.
The whole setup to that. Also, so the guy that brings the pine weasel, is he also, I should have checked this, is he also the guy who sells Bobby and Shelley
that's what
the
I thought.
ridiculous chair? Like, anytime this guy shows up in Twin Peaks, antics abound. Because he's the kind of, do you remember that?
That
they
scene
give
was
for-
funny.
Yeah, it is, yeah. That one is good. This one,
just feels so lazy.
yeah, it's bizarre. And Audrey hooks up with, they kiss for the first time because of this.
Do you remember our first kiss at the ferret fiasco?
At the Save the Weasel event.
Yeah. I honestly can't think of anything else that happens in that that's really interesting. Lucy is jealous because she thinks Dick is hitting on
All
other
the
models.
Everybody.
Yeah.
basically.
I forgot Dick was around. Whatever happened to little Nicky?
Oh, he's in hell.
Oh, yeah.
He's swimming with
That
the
was
fishes.
confirmed, right? We confirmed he was
Yeah.
Satan himself. And then,
Yeah,
okay,
exactly. It was done off screen. It was in one of the books. You should have read the books.
Same thing with the chef stabbing Jerry, right?
Oh, yeah.
Ben
Yeah,
Horn.
the guy comes over, the hotel staff guy comes over and is like, whispers something. He's like,
Oh,
oh, one moment. The chef has stabbed Jerry or something like that.
yeah, that's right.
He's probably just bullshitting, but I hope that really happened.
Probably saw how he
I hope
ate
that's
his
a deleted
sandwich.
scene.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about the sheriff's department stuff. We've talked a little bit about it, but let's talk about. We'll definitely talk about Briggs and the log lady, and then. Holy shit! Is that basically the only other?
Heather
stuff?
Graham's in the show now,
Heather Graham shows up. Yeah,
and that's about it.
Who
She
is
just shows up.
Annie? Is she Annie?
yeah, she's Annie.
All right, and more of Norma's family members are coming into town who don't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, she was a nun,
Yeah.
and
She's
now
in a
is coming to Twin
Is that what
Peaks.
happened? I couldn't understand
Yeah.
their conversation.
So that I think, and I'm pretty sure that happened. Was it in these episodes or was it last week? Where because Norma gets the call that sister's not doing the convent thing anymore, so
It was in
she's gonna help her out.
15.
Okay, but yeah, so she shows up and kind of has that moment with Cooper. It's also insinuated that she's suicidal. The scar on her
Is
wrist.
that what
that
I
she's-
thought that
I
was
think
like
that's
another
what
one of
it
the
is.
marks that.
yeah, I wasn't sure if it was like
Yeah,
a
like
government
a-
transmitter spot or
Right,
something.
yeah.
Because I mean,
Log
there
lady
should be
has or
more,
something.
right? Or I guess on suicide there would be one. I don't know.
Oh man, that's crazy because I just read this article the other day about a country that does that where they plant like a chip in your hand and you can use the subway with it and shit.
Yeah,
Pretty
use
fun
the
stuff.
subway in quotes. Like, oh yeah, we just want to get you more convenient traveling. Yeah, let's put.
Yeah, so she's in the show.
She's from Sweden or whatever country that is that puts the chips in your hand. I think
Right,
we
yep,
obviously know
that's-
that.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Cooper likes her.
Yeah.
He's become speechless. Like I'm like, this isn't Coop. This doesn't happen to Coop.
Yeah. And Wyndham Earl saw that all happen, so I think that he's gonna not go after the other three, and he's like, "That's the girl I'm gonna get," and then they're gonna kill her because she just got here. So
Yeah. And no one likes nuns, right?
None of us.
yeah, there we go.
Yeah, interesting. Oh, I didn't do the prediction. There we go. Well,
There we go.
we'll
Oh,
put
yeah.
that in the post. You've got that on your. Yeah, you can get it.
I got it.
You got that? You can get it on your. Yeah.
I'm putting that on a t-shirt. So let's talk about.
Oh yeah, announcing our official merch now.
Got that on
Tyler
your,
quote T-shirts.
Oh, jeez. Okay. So yeah, let's talk about the actual sort of intriguing Twin Peaks feeling 10 minutes in these episodes. Is the log lady. I will say when that scene cuts immediately after the log lady shows up at the Double R Diner and like touches his neck where those marks are, and she sits down, and it's like it's almost as if they cut as her mouth is opening to say something. It's infuriating. It is the most teasing bullshit a TV show could possibly pull. And then they do get them at the sheriff's department to talk to Cooper. Yeah, what did you guys think of that? Was there anything that you felt was like revealed in those that you didn't know, or something? I don't know.
The log lady has a mark also, like Briggs, but it's different. And she was also abducted by a white light as a child. She said, was that?
Yeah, when she was 7, she says. Yeah.
And yeah, like not a lot of information given. I assume both those things have to do with the lodges again. I mean, I can imagine that if it's a white light, maybe that means it's the White Lodge, and that whoever visits that is then marked or something. I don't know.
She also said she saw an owl, right?
Yeah, she said we heard the call.
So there
of that
might
owl
be
or something.
more to the owls than even just the fact that Bob uses them. Is
Right,
what I
yeah.
get out of that is because I thought, oh, that whole thing's answered, but maybe not. Maybe there's more to it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all we get. Which is a real bummer. I have to imagine that some crazed super fan out there has made a cut of like the interesting things from these episodes and put it as a 30-minute video you could find somewhere that you could just watch after Leland dies and then jump into the finale or something.
You know what?
I don't know.
You've inspired me. I'm going to do it.
How long could it take? There's not
Honestly.
much.
It'll be a 3-minute video.
Yeah, 30 was a stretch.
So yeah, I mean, I guess we didn't talk about Truman. Truman just goes insane, sitting on his desk stack.
I love it when they come back and he's just gone wild. Every picture on the wall is crooked. Like it's not like they've fallen off. They've perfectly turned everyone to be at like a diagonal angle, and I'm like,
They didn't have the budget to break everything. So they're like, we'll just make it look crazy.
Yeah.
This all happens in the span of like a few hours as well.
yeah, he just spirals really quickly out of control.
He's drinking some Jack there.
Yeah.
It's apparently very bad for him.
Most of the time, though, as far as I know, was just spent twirling the cup. Because at the beginning of one of those episodes, it cut at least 10 times back to him just twirling that cup.
Yep.
Man, poor guy. Something's on his mind.
When it wasn't the cup, it was just a montage of him and Josie. And I was just
Right.
like, I don't want to remember this. I don't like it.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
The superimposing Josie over those opening credits for that episode are real bizarre. Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it for these episodes. That's it. I think the biggest thing is like I walk away from this not really with too many questions about anything that happened in these episodes because I'm just not super invested. I'm sure there are people out there who I hope not that think these are okay. Though as I got ready to say that sentence, I wasn't prepared to commit to it, and I didn't want to condone that. Man, it's rough. It is really hard. I don't think I've said this already, but I feel like I always think that the stuff with Andy, Dick, and Lucy, like that is kind of the low point of Twin Peaks, like that era, like the episodes before this. But man, we really hit a new low in these few episodes, which is a bummer because there's still characters I love on this show that I want to care about.
Well, yeah, the only thing that like is keeping me going at this point is just knowing that David Lynch comes back for the finale.
Yeah,
We have the movie, and then we have a full third season of
Yeah.
Lynch, which is I've heard is amazing from multiple people.
yeah.
So
But it'll be really fun to get into that, and it's cool to. I think this. Yeah, it's cool to watch it like this over a longer period of time than we might normally like binge something. And I think especially the third season benefits from giving yourself a little space between episodes and stuff. So when we get into that, that'll be nice. But yeah, and it's it's interesting. I think that the cool thing about this is like one of the things I like about Twin Peaks is all the production stuff, all the stuff that went on behind the scenes, and I've plugged it a million times, but if you're interested at all in that stuff, Reflections by Brad Dukes is a really awesome book, and it can give you a little bit of a better sense, not just about Twin Peaks itself, but a little bit of how all the hands involved in making TV, because it's so many people, so many more people than something like a movie, which is why David Lynch refers to the third season as an 18-hour movie, and a lot of people are like, oh yeah, whatever. But like, I think really the way that was produced was much more like a movie. Like it was, they had a 500-page script and they shot it like a movie. So everything at this location, they shot at that location. It doesn't matter if this scene is in episode 1 and this one's in episode 17. Right. We are shooting everything here. And then we're moving to the next location. It was much more of a film kind of workflow in that way, and so it makes for different TV for sure. But yeah. Anyways, we got plenty of time to discuss that. We'll get there. So next week we're gonna watch episodes 18, 19, and 20. Getting close to the end. We've only got 5 episodes left of the original run of Twin Peaks. After the next 3 weeks, we will have watched all of the Twin Peaks that was available for like 25 years, essentially. All people had were the original series and the movie. So we'll have to kind of talk about that. But so that's what we're watching next week. If you want to let us know that we're totally wrong on these episodes, don't bother emailing us at rewatchersonthepod@gmail.com or adding us on Twitter at rewatcherspod, or do just whatever you feel. But yeah, we'll go into recommendations now after a quick break. Yeah, that's it. That was me. That's it.
That was you. That was you. It was your fault?
I did this.
Get him out of here.
Just trying to get Harley Jarvis.
Fuck you, Harley Jarvis.
I hope you fucking die, Harley Jarvis. All right, we are back with the recommendation segment of our podcast. Who wants to go first? Does anyone have any specific things?
I don't have anything this week.
Okay. I can, I'll talk really quick. I have finally watched the second season of Atlanta, Childish Gambino's show. And I think this is a relevant recommendation because I do remember an interview before Atlanta came out of Donald Glover basically saying I wanted to make Twin Peaks for rappers. And that's kind of what Atlanta is in a lot of ways. It's a lot of quirky and weird characters, way more grounded than Twin Peaks is, but certainly, particularly in the second season, introducing some characters that I think would be right at home in Twin Peaks. I'll say right now, there's a character in the second season named Teddy Perkins. he'd absolutely be in Twin Peaks. I wouldn't even bat an eye at that man showing up in Twin Peaks. But it's really good. Atlanta's a great show, and it's really fun to watch. It's way different than almost, I would say, anything on TV right now. So yeah, that's my recommendation this week. Justin, do you have anything?
I've already mentioned this on the podcast, I think, as one of my recommendations in the past, but I am just about done with Glow completely on Netflix.
Oh, cool.
I've got 2 more episodes left.
Dude, you're going to be just in time for
I know.
next
Season
week
3
or
Season 3
whenever.
comes out. Yeah.
I'm excited.
But yeah, I was like, so I'm at the point now where I feel comfortable enough, like jumping on forums and stuff and reading, like,
Yeah.
on Reddit and seeing what other people think about the show. And like one of the first comments I read was like, I can't imagine that there's many guys out there who really like this show. And like, I was like, I'm a guy and I really like this show.
Yeah,
What are you
no,
saying?
for sure.
But it makes sense because the show is definitely like, it feels very much like catered towards more of a female audience. But I guess I really dig those kinds of shows because this show is amazing. So
I honestly haven't heard of very many. Brett, Riley, do you watch it?
I haven't watched it.
Because I haven't heard of any female people like
Yeah.
talk about it.
really? Huh.
Female people? That's a dumb way to say that. I haven't heard any women say that at all, and I've only heard guys talk about it. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's just a good show.
Yeah.
It's got good characters. It's well written. It's well put together. Like, I feel like I'm gonna like it just based on that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, but yeah, it is. It's a cool show, and I do think it's one of those shows that, like, especially in the second season. I don't know how far you are.
I've got 2 episodes left in the second
Okay,
season.
so you've seen like the Trash Queen. or
Don't spoil
Welfare
anything yet.
Queen.
Gwen's watching it since
Oh,
she
okay.
listens to the pod,
Okay.
so yeah.
But there is they focus on certain characters in those episodes
Mm-hmm.
that are like really fantastic.
Yeah, you get deep
looks at
dive
those
into it's such an ensemble type
Yeah.
of thing, but you get time spent on the characters, and I'm hoping that they do more of that in season 3 because
me too.
there are other characters that I'm interested in seeing and getting more of their story.
Would you
as
say
well.
season 2 is better than season 1? Because I've only seen season 1.
Yeah.
I think so.
I
think
like
it
season
is.
1, but there's not enough to make me push for the little time I have to watch TV to
Yeah.
go into season 2.
I would say like the first 5 episodes of Glow are the hardest to get through. But once you get, there's a point in season 1 of Glow where I felt myself be pulled all in. And since that, I've loved every episode. And season 2 is, even better than season 1, I would say. So,
Yeah, check it out.
yeah, it's good.
I did watch at your house a little bit, then I rewatched some of them here of I Think You Should Leave. And man, yeah, I'll recommend it.
Yeah.
Sketch shows are weird for me because I don't like them as much as everyone else does, I feel like. Like, people will be like, you gotta see this Key and Peele, you gotta see this Studio C thing, and I watch them, they're like laughing their heads off, and I'm like, I'm not into it. And I think a big part of it is I just don't like they rely too heavily to pad the time with repeating the same thing over and again, which this show does at points. But it just when it starts to overstay it with welcome, it cuts, and I love when it just ends. Like their sketches are a lot of them are really short, and they just like they know right when to just like, okay, let's go on to the next one. And I don't know, I've never seen one like it. I've never seen one that's been so TV MA rated.
Right, yeah.
Like, yeah, a lot of great vulgarity and, use of just horrible phrases. But yeah, and also just like a weird, dumb. Honestly, this is gonna sound like a bad thing to some people, maybe, but like, it reminds me of Family Guy in a way where like.
It's like just the cutaway parts of Family Guy.
Yeah, like where they're like, "What's the most random shit
Yeah.
we can think?" It's like they start like a standard sketch comedy storyline, then they'll be like, "Okay, we've set the stage of what the like." I can see it in the writing. Okay, this is the setting. Now, what's the weirdest turn this story could take? Like, and they do that, and it's great. Those moments are great. They don't make sense. But they're funny.
But you're laughing, so you don't really care. Like,
And that's kind of what that shtick of that show is for me, is like to see, okay, what's going to be the weird ass thing they choose to do here.
Yeah. I will say, like, when that show does have longer sketches, they go to places you never would have pictured at the beginning of the sketch, like 3 or 4 times. Like, there's like 3 or 4 turns in those sketches before you get to the end, and everyone is funny.
I feel like on the longer ones, too, they feel a little more cinematic.
Yeah,
like, they
for sure.
feel like you're watching a movie,
Yeah.
like a scene from a movie, as opposed to, like, a sketch comedy thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of weird stuff. Also, I don't know if this is a theme throughout, because I've only seen the 3 episodes. They see each like episode, they carry over like not full on jokes, but like phrases and dialogue from previous sketches into other sketches, which is really weird.
I mean, I think a lot of that too is that Tim Robinson is involved in writing every sketch, and his voice
vocabulary,
is just so specific,
yeah. 'Cause,
and
like-
like what he finds funny and his type of humor. Like I feel like
Like
incorporates
multiple
all that.
people talking about referring to a chode as a tuna can. And
I've heard the term paint job multiple times in that show.
yeah.
mud pie,
Mud pie.
calling a piece of toilet paper a slice. Like weird vocabulary that just carries over throughout the whole thing.
It's really good, and the episodes are short. It's 6 episodes, and they're all like 15 to 16 minutes,
Which is,
long.
I think, the right length,
So
because like
good, yeah.
I can watch. There's times where I could watch like 3 or 4 in a row, and there's times where like, okay, I just need one 15-minute episode of
Yeah.
this, and then I can do whatever. Like,
for sure.
yeah, I recommend it. Obviously, if you're listening to this podcast and you're like offended by certain things, you probably have your priorities mixed up. But you should be watching quality R-rated shit instead of listening to this. But
Good stuff. This is a good plug for the podcast too. Riley, did you have anything you wanted to recommend? How's that British Love Island going?
Oh
yeah.
gosh, I'm on the 2nd season. And
Wow.
I hate it, but I can't stop watching it. I don't know what's happening. It's yeah. It is what it is. It's pretty bad.
It is an island
The
of
first
love.
season's better than the 2nd season.
Good to
I
know.
like almost no one on this season that I'm watching. So
we got a new
Yeah.
Terrace House coming soon, right?
yes,
Hopefully,
When,
yeah.
That's what I'm
have
waiting
they given a
for.
date for that?
No, everyone thought it was going to be August, but they announced stuff that's dropping in August, and it's not on there. So
Where's
they're
it?
filming
Where's
now,
it
so it should
It's
be.
in Tokyo.
shot? It's in Tokyo.
yeah, which is one of the reasons I'm really excited. Actually, I'm
I
excited.
Yeah.
still have like 3 episodes left of the mountain one.
Oh, cool.
I can't remember what's opening doors.
I like that one too. That's my
That
that's
one's
my
good.
second favorite of
Yeah.
the seasons that are on Netflix. So, but yeah, more Terrace House. Can't wait.
We should
excited.
if we have time, we should do a Terrace House side podcast.
I'm 100%. I could talk about Terrace House Twin Peaks all day, all day.
I want that crossover.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, if that's all, I think that we'll take a break. Let's take a break from these episodes. Watch some new episodes. Come back next
right.
week.
Yeah.
We'll talk about
All
those.
right.
That
Yeah.
sound good to you guys?
That sounds great.
Okay, good. Well, we'll see you next week after you put yourself through the next 3 episodes of Twin Peaks, and we do the same. We're promising. This is a solemn oath. If you do it, we'll do it, and we'll talk about it. Signing off from the lodge. This is Tyler Harris.
Marcus Marinos.
Tyler McKinley.
Riley Harris.
Justin Hammer.
Bye.